I'm Anil Kumar. Welcome to my series on pattern rules. Here is an example which has nonlinear pattern. We'll see how to find a pattern rule in such a case. The question here is, consider the pattern 0, 4, 10, 18, 28 and so on. Write the next three terms. Write the pattern rule. Find the 100th term of this sequence. You can always pause the video, answer this question, and then look into my suggestions. So let's begin with the pattern itself. The numbers given to us are 0, 4, 10, 18, 28, and so on. We need to find the next three terms, right? So that is the first exercise. Now always when you have a pattern, it's a good idea to find difference, right? So the first step here is to find difference between consecutive terms. So the next term is the consecutive term, right? So we'll find the difference between these terms. Okay. 4 minus 0, so we'll do that. So it is 4. 10 minus 4 is 6. 18 minus 10 is 8. And 28 minus 18 is 10. Now that is not constant, right? So this is the first difference. We call this as the first difference, right? So we say first difference is not constant, right? It is changing. That really means that we have a nonlinear sequence pattern. Is that clear to you, right? If it was a linear pattern, this will be constant. So now we'll find the second difference. Second difference means repeat the whole process of finding difference between the consecutive terms once again, right? So when we do that, 6 minus 4 is 2, 8 minus 6 is 2, and 10 minus 8 is also 2, right? Is also 2. So we notice that it is constant. So the second difference, it is constant. When second difference is constant, we know that it will be quadratic in nature. So we can write this as a quadratic pattern rule. Now, for some students up to middle school, this will be slightly difficult. However, if you are in middle school, you can definitely answer this question, write the next three terms using another technique. And the technique is kind of simpler. What you notice here is that the second difference is constant, so the next term should be what? Well, we have to add 2 to get here, and so it should be 12. And then for 28, we can add 12 and get our next term. This makes sense to you, right? So adding 12 to 28, you get 0 here, and 2 plus 2 is 4, 40. So you notice that the next terms we could actually get by adding 2 more than the previous, right? So basically, now in this pattern, you notice that we could add 14 and then we could add 16 to get the next term. So that also helps us to find the next terms, right? So adding 14 to 40, we get 4 and 1, 54, and adding 16 to 54, we get 70. Is that clear to you? So we at least got the three terms. Let me write down. The next three terms are 40, 54, and 70, correct? Now, you could also write a pattern rule here. The pattern rule could be written as, let me write down. we could write that start at 0, then add 4, and then add 2 more each time. Right? So this is an iteration process, right? So we call this as iterative pattern. Right? So that becomes our pattern rule. So let me write down the pattern rule is written right there. Does start at 0, add 4, then add 2 more each time. That means 2 more than the previous time you added. So instead of 4, add 6, then 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and so on to get the other terms in this pattern. Okay, so we have answered the first 2 parts of this particular question. However, the next part is find the 100th term. Now, how do we figure this out? The 100th term. We need to continue till 100th term. That's going to take a lot of time. So now we'll take help of explicit pattern rule. So we'll talk about explicit pattern rule in the next part of this video. So in the first half, we have seen in this particular pattern, second difference is constant. And it is equal to 2, right? So the second difference is constant, it is equal to 2. And that means we have a quadratic relation. A quadratic relation is given as ax squared plus bx plus c. So the value of this pattern is equal to, let us say, is equals to the number. Let's say this number is y, right? So we can write y equals to x squared plus bx plus c. Now here, x is the term number. So we can write one term number here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So in this case, where x is term number and y is term value. So the y values are 0, 4, 10, 18, and 28, and so on, correct? So that with that base, let's work out how do we find this particular equation, which could be explicit pattern rule for our pattern, right? We notice that there are 3 unknowns, A, B, and C. Since there are 3 unknowns, we need 3 points, correct? So we'll consider these points as 1, 0, 2, 4, 3, 10. So we'll write this as term number. So we'll use points as x and y, where x is our term number, these are your term numbers, and y is your term values. So in our case, we'll use these 3 points, which are 1, 0, 2, 4, and 3, 10. Is that clear to you? So using these points in the given equation, we get 3 equations, right? So that is the equation, and these are the points. So we get 3 equations. So let's write down our equations right there. So if I use 1 and 0, 1 is the value of the x, 0 is the value of the y, right? So we get a times 1 square plus b times 1 plus c. That's what we mean. And the y value being 0. Is it clear to you? So this equation becomes a plus b plus c equals to 0, right? So from here, we get that equation. Is that clear to you? Similarly, if I substitute 2 here, we get a times 2 whole square plus b times 2 plus c, and that should be equal to 4. So that is 4a plus 2b plus c equals to 4. The third point is 310. So A times 3 square plus B times 3 plus C should be equal to 10. So that gives you 9A plus 3B plus C equals to 10. So we get three equations from the 3 points. Let's call them our equation number 1, equation number 2, and equation number 3. Now you can see there are C's in this. So we could do first level of elimination, eliminating C from equation 1 and 2 and then 2 and 3. So we'll now do equation 2 minus equation 1, right? And we'll also do equation 3 minus equation 2. So when we do that, equation 2 minus equation 1, so we get 4 minus 1, we get 3A. 2B minus B is plus B. C minus C is 0. So 4 minus 0 is 4. So we get one equation. We do the same operation here. We get 5A plus B, right? 3 minus 2. C minus C is 0 equals to 6. So what we get here is two more equations. Let me call them as our equation number 4 and equation number 5. Now in these equations, we have A's and B's. We can eliminate B by subtracting one from the others. 5 minus 4. Do you see that? So if I do equation 5 minus equation 4, in that case, 5A minus 3 is 2A. B and B cancel. 6 minus 4 is 2. And from here, we get A is equals to 1. 2 divided by 2. Right? So we get the value of A. Now once we get the value of A, let's call this as our equation number 6. We at least know A is 1 for us. We'll also talk about a shortcut method to find A at the end of the video. Now we know what A is. We can substitute A and find B, right? So we'll sub this value, 6 in 4, right? So we'll substitute this in 4, going back here, for A as 1. So we get what? We get 3 times 1, since A is 1, plus B equals to 4. And clearly, B is equals to 4 minus 3, and we get B as equals to 1. So we get the value of B also, which is 1. Now we can get back to C. We can use the very first equation, which is A plus B plus C equals to 0. So we had this equation A plus B plus C equals to 0. We know what A and B both are 1. Both are 1 plus C equals to 0. So clearly C is equals to minus 2. So we get the value of C as minus 2. Perfect. So that means we know our equation. So finally, substituting the values of A, B and C, we get the value of our term, right? So we can write this as x squared plus x minus 2 equals to the value of the term. So that becomes the equation which we are looking forward to, which defines the given sequence. You get the idea. Now, let's answer part C. So part C for us is to find the value of the 100th term, right? So if I put x as 100, I get 100 squared, right? Plus 100 minus 2 equals to y, right? So which is 2 more zeros, plus 100, we can do plus 98 equals to y. So we get 10098 as equal to y. Clear? So we get our answer as 10,098 is the value of the 100th term, right? So that is how we could actually find the equation and also the term. And this is what we call as the explicit pattern rule, right? So this is our explicit pattern rule. Clear? Now, as I was saying, we could have found A very easily from the second difference. So let me give you a formula here. Generally, if we have a second difference, it is like 2, right? So A is equals to the constant second difference, right, divided by 2. It is half of the second difference. for a quadratic equation. Is it okay? So that is how we could use directly the second difference, and we could have found 2 divided by 2 as 1, and then this would have been a simpler process since we were only then supposed to find two values, right? But anyway, it's good to understand the whole process. So that gives you, I think, a good idea about how to find nonlinear pattern rules. It could be slightly challenging at times, but it's a straightforward method. I hope it makes sense. Feel free to write a comment, share your views, and if you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. Thanks for your time and all the best.